In today's video, I want to talk about what a weight-bearing restriction is. A lot of times when a loved one has a fracture, they're told that they have a weight-bearing restriction. Say it's an ankle or a hip. That can range anywhere from no weight on the limb at all to full weight. And there's a lot of differences in between those that different doctors will recommend based on the fracture and its ability to heal. So in today's video, that's what we're going to talk about, so that you as the caregiver is able to understand what that weight-bearing restriction is, so that if you have to help your loved one in moving around, you'll be able to understand what they're allowed to do and not allowed to do. So weight-bearing restriction is the term that a doctor will use when they make a recommendation after a fracture. And the reason for it is some fractures are stable and the person is allowed to put as much weight as they want on it. Other fractures are less stable, or they're in a different part of the body, which is less stable to begin with. And so the doctor will say no weight on it for a specific amount of time. And the whole purpose is to make sure that that bone heals in the best possible alignment. Otherwise, there's long-term problems that occur if it's out of alignment. Pain, lack of motion, which can then transition to be a lack of the ability to walk properly or use the arm properly. The best case scenario after a fracture is to be weight bearing as tolerated, which means as much weight as you can tolerate putting on it is fine. The next step down is called partial weight bearing. They can put as much as 50% of their weight on it. So if it's a leg and we think about walking, if you don't have a walker, each leg, every time you're stepping, is putting all of the weight on one leg and then all of the weight on the other leg and then all of the weight, so it goes back and forth like that. So if you think about that, that means that walking without an assistive device means you're going to have to put full weight on both legs. So if someone's using a walker, there are ways to train to put partial weight bearing, so up to 50%. And I have another video that shows how to do that. And a lot of times, because it's difficult to figure out, okay, what is 50% weight bearing? If somebody weighs 200 pounds, that's 100 pounds, but how do you determine that they're putting 100 pounds down? You kind of have to guess. So it's better to err on the side of caution and do less. The next one is toe touch weight bearing or touch down weight bearing. They use them interchangeably, and basically what it means is that you can rest your foot on the floor as you walk. And that can be really difficult. Think about if we have somebody who has a cognitive impairment, that can be almost impossible to try to teach that. And then the final one is non-weight bearing. A lot of times arms will not be casted or fixed surgically, and so for a period of time the doctor will write orders to be non-weight bearing. That's extremely difficult. Even if it's in a sling, people often need to use that arm, and so a lot of times that's especially with a cognitive issue, that's really hard to teach too. That means that they can't use it to push up when they're standing up. They're not supposed to be using it to turn over in bed. That also means that if they use a walker, they can't use one side of that walker. So it's important when we're thinking about the weight-bearing restriction to watch and see where some of the difficulties might come up. If somebody is non-weight bearing on an arm, they broke their shoulder, and they are wearing a sling, that means they only have one arm to help them stand up. And that can be really difficult because a lot of people have weak legs. So working on leg strength would be great. And it also means that you might then have to help them when they didn't used to need help. When you think about if your loved one has to do stairs and they have a non-weight bearing restriction on a leg, it's almost impossible to be able to do non-weight bearing while you're doing stairs, because each step up, you're putting full weight onto that leg. The couple of ways that you can get around it is if somebody can use a crutch on one side so they can hold that leg up, or if the railings are close enough that they can take all the weight into their arms as they hop up on the non-affected leg. And the third option is if they are able to go up on their rear end, they could do it non-weight bearing, but it's really difficult. So as you have a loved one who might have a non-weight bearing or a partial weight bearing restriction, there's a lot that goes into that as far as their everyday mobility. But being aware of what that restriction is can help you to help your loved one to try to the best of your ability to maintain that precaution that the doctor has given. I have more videos that talk about strategies you can use when there's a weight-bearing restriction and you're trying to do some sort of mobility. I hope this video was helpful. Please comment in the comment section below. Like and share this if you found it helpful. Subscribe to my channel. And in the comment section below, comment on any future videos you would like to see me do. Thanks.